Hello. I am extremely wigged out right now because I'm supposedly multi-streaming right now to YouTube and to Twitch. And this is my first time doing this, and I have no idea if it's working. I think it is, and I think it looks like my network is doing just fine with the multi-streaming. It's just scary. It's scary to do something different, and it is slightly terrifying. Welcome in Ishmael. Welcome in Cali. The other thing is that Restream, which I'm using to multi-stream, is supposed to have a shared chat, right? That I can like put in my OBS, and I guess I can see the shared chat not on OBS. Oh, I can see it on Restream. Okay. This is this is interesting. This is new. Um so I'm basically I'm trying to figure out how to manage streaming on both Twitch and on YouTube at the very same time, and to not get, overwhelmed by all of these things, and to manage to have it all still function. This is this is the thing today. I don't know if anyone will also watch my channel on YouTube if I'm streaming there as well. Uh, I also think there might be a watermark up here right now. Maybe because I'm streaming with Restream. I don't know. Trying things out. It's scary. I don't know if it's working, but hopefully it is. If anyone wants to go over to the YouTube channel from Twitch chat to tell me if there's a stream over there and it's working, that'd be super cool. I'd appreciate it. Send a chat message through YouTube. But welcome, Sodafee. Callie, we always vote Rose. I mean, fair enough. Rose is the scent of love and like passion and stuff. I know you write a fair amount of like love poems and you do ASMR, so I guess that makes sense, right? um, uh, yeah. So welcome. We're streaming. We're doing the same thing as ever, even though it's this new multi-streaming thing. Uh, that being poetry, same as ever. Um, Welcome, Leon. Leon, we're multi-streaming, I think. I think the stream can also be found on YouTube now, like you were suggesting. It turns out Restream is free if you only stream to two channels. And I think if you put a watermark on your thing. As far as I can tell, I'm live on YouTube. If I'm not, then it's failed. Um, and if it's failed, then we'll have to try again next time, right? um, but that's kind of what's happening. You also might get messages in the chat. Yeah, I have both chats open. Restream is supposed to have a shared chat, but I it doesn't seem to be working for me right now. Lotus, my mind is a lot sharper now that I started taking creatine and electrolytes. I also have to go take my vitamin D. I do personally find creatine to be really nice. I've been using it too. It's excellent. I don't fatigue as much. You might also get messages and yeah, like advertisement, but it's fair for free. Oh, like Restream, like ads within my chat. That'd be annoying, but I think if I like it and if it works, and if we do confirm that Two-Thirds Lotus can in fact be watched on youtube.com/ whatever, Two-Thirds Lotus, then I'll probably start paying for it because I don't really want to have the watermark or anything. And yeah, it's super cool. Big news. Big news in the world of Imogen. Like massive, colossal news, which many of you saw in the Discord server. I I get to teach a poetry workshop next month at a poetry festival locally where people will supposedly show up, supposedly, wanting to listen to the things that I have to say and to teach. And I'm like super incredibly stoked for it. It'll be my first time teaching a poetry workshop. Confirmed it works. That's awesome. Uh, you're also live on YouTube. Let's go. We're live in 2 places. That's pretty cool. That's magical. That's technology, I guess. And it seems like Stream is doing fine in terms of quality and it's not like wigging out. So that's all excellent stuff, I would say. But yeah, I have to write and prepare a poetry workshop to teach people about poetry, which is really cool. And what it's going to be is, which it doesn't really matter to you all since none of you are in Las Vegas and probably won't be attending this poetry festival. um, but yeah, I get to like write a whole hour-and-a-half workshop and teach it, and they pay me for it, which is super cool. Now, to do more, you could have a chat that works on both streams, I think. Just a thought. So, oh, yeah, because this chat is Twitch chat, um, which is not Restream chat. That is important. I didn't think about that. But Restream has a shared chat that in some way functions, and like I think I can embed here probably, hopefully. I don't know. But at least right now no one's sending messages in the YouTube chat, so it doesn't really matter as far as I can tell. I can see my YouTube chat and I can see my Twitch chat. I have a window open right here on my computer screen where the Restream shared chat is supposed to be. And the only thing I'm getting from Restream chat is a loading bar. That being said, I can open a shared Restream chat on my browser and I can see it there. So I'll have to figure out some of the formatting and getting this all to work, like you say, Leon, baby steps. But that's exciting. And I did download the VODs from last stream, or the VOD from last stream, and edited it into the 2 different poems. I did not get around to posting that on YouTube yet. Those will be posted, and we are going to go back to posting the VODs on YouTube. I think generally the assumption will be if someone is submitting to stream, then they are just consenting to it going on YouTube too. Because I don't really want to manage, asking people, oh, are you okay with me posting the VOD on YouTube? It's something that normally happens on stream. And I guess people can let me know if they really strongly don't want that, but that's how it's going to be. Another thing that happened is yesterday I posted on my Substack. I actually posted writing on the internet. My Substack is called The Place Imogen Posts Writing Online, I think. I got a tie for incense flavors. Lavender and rose. The only concern might be about AI stealing the content, maybe. Interesting. I guess that is something that happens. Am I supposed to burn both? Or am I supposed to just choose? Am I supposed to be the tiebreaker? Coin flip time? We can do a coin flip. I need one person, Sodafi, since you suggested the coin flip, to call heads or tails. I'll get a coin. I need a coin. Here's my wallet. Okay. Oh, I read a really good poem the other day. I'm going to share a poem with you all. It was in Poetry Magazine. Heads is lavender. Okay. Let's do a coin flip. Oh, wow, there's a Sharpie in my wallet. I forgot that I did that. Okay, I have this super whack coin that I can barely tell which side is heads or tails. So we're not going to do that one. Is that a quarter? Okay. Quarter. American currency. Cold, hard change. And I guess I will switch to the overhead camera, right? Here's stream stuff. Here is me with my coin. I'm showing you. I will flip it. I will catch it. Here's the coin. Heads. Okay. Heads. I'm burning lavender flavored incense. That was fun. Now I need to put this away. Yo, I have both creatine and caffeine and theanine pills. Would I turn into the guy from Limitless if I took both? I think you should be careful about supplementation, Callie. I do think my opinion is generally that like supplements should be used carefully, and like it's probably better to get your electrolytes from real like food, and most people do get enough electrolytes from food. Granted, if you're doing like cardio and it's hot, sure, like use electrolytes. But I just would encourage you to, use what's the word? Circumspection. Employ that sentiment while you were doing that. I want to share a poem with you all that I read in Poetry Magazine because I thought this was like an absolute banger of a poem. And then we'll go into like actual stream poetry, normal stuff. I just thought this was like a absolute banger, and I want to read it on stream. You can see that I do some amount of analysis on my own when I am reading poetry by my lonesome. This isn't something that I only do for stream. But here's Kingdom by Andy Chan. I just want to read this for you all. On my 6th day of COVID, I venture with tea, a notebook, and the last of the peaches. Out back to our tiny plot tucked in its city alley. I say our, but this domain is yours. You know which day which sun golds will be ready. What needs pruning, what wilderness is better, left unchecked, not to mention where the sugar water won't get too hot for the hummingbirds and their purring hearts, how to stop the squirrels from biting each green zebra just to spit out its tart flesh before trying another, and which log to leave across the bottom of the bird bath so it's not too deep. I see feathers floating, meaning something somewhere newly is clean, glistening from wetness and not just the sheen of being blessed with flight. Each breath is lush, every smell at once. I feel starved. The way one is for everything after realizing the worst of a sickness is over. And I'm eating each peach in 4 bites, gorging on their fullness and the fullness of the sunlight and the oxygen released by the honeysuckle, overswarming its trellis, by the bee balm, by the Norfolk pine we used once as a Christmas tree, by Fred Jr., the cactus you grew from 3 inches of Fred, by the banana peppers you pick and leave in a bowl for me, to slice into my eggs. By the volunteer cilantro. Volunteer, a word I have thanks to you. By the rosebush branch you guide away from the handrail. By the dumb cane, by the magnolia giving shade to the whole kingdom and me, drunk on it all, spilling over like the peach juice down my chin, like the ink of this fountain pen bleeding through this cheap paper, the other side illegible now. You never like the poems I write about you, but each time I believe this will be the first. This will be the first. Like me, everything wants in on what you've made. Crickets, 2 mice you've deemed siblings and named, caterpillars who eat entire milkweeds in hours just to build wings from, and the winged shadows streaking across me. Just sky. By the time I look up, even the neighbor's pawpaw tree reaches through the fence, its shadow touching the oxalis, the ponytail palm, the weeping blue ginger. I knew so few of these names before you. Even those I knew I couldn't point to. And still, I need you to remind me. I need you to remind me of so much. To not yell at the Sixers game because the dog hides under the couch. To listen to my knees when they hurt. To slow down. To give you time alone. To remember early isn't always better. Which I forgot. That time I snapped at you to wash the basil already 40 minutes before hosting Maggie and Joe, whom you made laugh all night, and waited until after they left to cry. To slow down. To leave bug bites be. And because I never do, you planted the citronella. And yes, we're back in the garden. Because you'd rather be here than anywhere. Here with our failed attempt at broccoli. And the radishes we planted earlier than last year when we planted them too late. Here, with the rain garden we think can probably handle the rain. This poem like blew me away. I was sitting in the coffee shop reading it and reading my poetry magazine from January, and I'm like, dude, that was so good. If y'all want to read it again or look at it, Andy Chen, Kingdom. This poem has so much depth. And I think like just it's really worth digging into if y'all want a good poem. I love that. I don't really know anything about him, Andy Chen, but it's really good. And since it's in Poetry Magazine, I think it means it'll be online on their website, easily findable. So yeah, good poem. Mwahaha, I figured out what circumspection means by looking at circum and spection. Around and look around. From what I concluded, wary or cautious. Yes, Callie, we're using our etymological linguistic root kind of vibes. Circum, around, circle, circumnavigates, etc. And then spection, spectacle, like spectacles, or spectacle, something we, look at, gawk at. Spectator, someone who watches. So circumspection is to look around, to, be cautious, be wary. And you are right, that is the definition of circumspection. Isn't that cool? I love etymology and the way it can help us understand words. We're gonna do poetry. Poetry that's from y'all, not poetry from random individuals, not random. I mean, it's from Poetry Magazine. Uh, so we've got a lot of poems submitted, I think. Ishmael, you submitted the coffee poem, which you've been hyping up for some time. Who else is in chat? We have Leon, Callie, Ray, Ishmael. Ishmael would be before Ray. I know Ray has a bunch of translations in chat. I don't think Callie has anything submitted. We did yours, Sodafi. No Bite Kiosk. No Nikki. Ishmael, shall we do your poem called Coffee? Would you be inclined to have me read that poem? I haven't written outside of my novels, and that's okay. Always feel free to send prose if you find it to be like suitable for stream in terms of length and content and you know, completeness. It's the last day of January. But keep in mind I sent it today, so I'm not the first on the list. Well, there's no one else in chat who's on the list, Ishmael. And in that case, it would just defer to you because you're here. And that's sort of the thing with stream is you show up and I guess if you do, I read the stuff. And like Ray has stuff that's older, but we did a poem from Ray like 2 streams ago. So I'm more inclined to do one of yours since he's, there's multiple factors in play, I guess, is the thing too. So 1-31. It's the last day of January. I feel like I have been thinking it's been February for the last week. Like I'm already in February. And maybe that's because I think about February a lot, and February is my least favorite month for many reasons. But it's the 31st. Today is 1:31 according to my iPad. Coffee. Last chance to say Happy New Year before fully realizing it's probably a lie. Last chance to say Happy New Year. Do you say that in that it's not going to be a Happy New Year? And I mean, it's already not a Happy New Year. Like January's been pretty bad. Right? If that's what you're meaning. Ishmael, do you have any context you would like to provide for this poem? Any questions, any guiding thoughts, themes, approaches, things you'd like me to look out for, etc., etc.? Before I jump into Coffee, a poem by you. Last Happy New Year I knew was like 1989. I feel like this past New Year was actually quite happy for me, like a month ago. Wait, was I miserable? No, I was good. I like sat and journaled and it was very reflective. I would say it was like a personally like Happy New Year, and I am happy and I was happy at that moment. I probably had plenty of Happy New Years before I got sad too. I'm laying out an inspiration of mine for this poem. They are visitors in tongues. They reap tulips. The aristocrats drink it. Coffee is black, isn't it? They are visitors in tongue. It makes more sense in Turkish, I swear. Well, it's poetry. Poetry is always difficult. They are visitors in tongues. They reap tulips. The aristocrats drink it. Coffee is black, isn't it? So we have this idea of, we have this idea, like a few things: tongues, mouths. We have aristocracy, wealth, beauty, delicacy, tulips, things that are beautiful, coffee, black, dark. There's some like good contrast happening in that little thing. Not that I know exactly what it's saying. Tulips was the reason for the first economic crash in European history. Uh I think that depends on what you mean by like economic crash. Right? That was the first speculative bubble, probably, which is different from an economic crash because like the fall of Rome, I would suggest would be an economic crash. Like because that's just the economy falling apart. Or the plague would have been an economic crash because it crashed, like it would have caused an economic crash. But yeah, the tulip speculative bubble is a really interesting thing, right? Rome never really fell. I mean, sure. Then we'll say like the sack of Rome by the Goths or whatever. Probably those things. I don't know. Whatever. Or like the split into the Roman empires. Or I don't know my history very well. But we're gonna read a poem because that's what we do here. We talk about poetry, and I think that's what I want to do with my time. Here is Coffee by Ishmael. Coffee does not fear honesty. His spices wander around many tongues. Coffee does not fear to confront them. For this fortune tellers wait to feast on his flesh. Yet what they puke is honesty. Ask, and you shall receive. Find an excuse. Drink coffee. No excuse. Drink coffee. Coffee is cleanliness. It comes from heart. Be baptized in coffee. Marry coffee. Drink coffee. But if he tries to take it too far, if he tries to deceive you, if his salt crawls within your mouth, if you can sense he is only an excuse for something else, say, coffee is not always good. Say, metron ariston. What kind would you like? Ask, and you shall receive. Ooh, I like this poem, Ishmael. I do. What does this mean? Metron ariston. That's an important thing, right, for this poem. I like this. We have a lot going on. We have the coffee, fortune teller thing, honesty, lies. I think this feels very related to, this idea in your inspiration of the visitors in tongues. There's a lot going on. I enjoy it. Everything with measure. Measure is the best. Okay. These are our two sort of meanings here. Everything with measure / measure is the best. Okay. I separate my worlds and try not to let personal cross into world stuff or social stuff cross into work stuff. I guess work and social have built-in intersections, but social is when I'm silly and work is the serious time. I don't know. Oh, I see. Maybe because Leon said let's schedule a political stream too. I don't think I could do a political stream. I don't think I have much to say. Well, I have political thoughts and I have ideas and I have opinions. I'm someone with, I'd say, fairly rooted opinions in things, and I probably could talk about political stuff, but I will not be doing that on Twitch ever, I think. Other than just like in passing in conversation. I wanted to have a slight Greek theme going around in the background, right? Because we have the Greek coffee is the seventh sacrament, as you have been talking about, and I have to assume that is a inspiration of this poem. Coffee is the eighth sacrament. Eighth, right? That's important context for this poem. I wanted to have a slight Greek theme going on in the background. Plus, I recently argued with two Greek friends of mine on why metron ariston doesn't count as a proverb, but I wasn't convincing. I put it into my art. Well, there you go. Yeah, this makes sense that this would be from Greek because these are recognizable English roots that we see in English. Metron, measure, right? Metric, measure, etc. Ariston, right? Best. We see aristocracy, right? A society run by the nobility, by the quote best, by the high. So that's from Greek as well. Is what's happening. Greek. Okay. We are gonna read the poem again, and I'll start underlining things probably. Coffee does not fear honesty. His spices wander around many tongues. Coffee does not fear to confront them. For this, fortune tellers wait to feast on his flesh, yet what they puke is honesty. Ask, and you shall receive. Find an excuse. Drink coffee. No excuse. Drink coffee. Coffee is cleanliness. It comes from heart. Be baptized in coffee. Marry coffee. Drink coffee. But if he tries to take it too far, if he tries to deceive you, if salt crawls within your mouth, if you can sense he is only an excuse for something else, say, coffee is not always good. Say, metron ariston, everything with measure. What kind would you like? Ask, and you shall receive. So, we have like a big sort of interconnected poem where all of these themes really feel like they continue to recur throughout. We have this idea of honesty and deception. We have this sort of idea of the query, asking the fortune teller, for something, for some fortune. Very related to the honesty, it seems, in this poem. And then the idea of excuses. Find an excuse, drink coffee. No excuse, drink coffee. If you can sense he is only an excuse for something else. Right? So we have this idea of excuses. And then we have these sort of visceral, bodily tongues, mouths, heart, cleanliness, these kinds of things. Puke, right? These different things happening within the mouth, within the body. And those are like the big things going on in this poem. The big, like, overarching vibes, right? And there's also just like an extremely heavy amount of repetition in individual words, in ideas. So we have, honesty, just like very straight up abstract word that continues to come back. Honesty, just twice. And then we have, excuse on an individual word level. We have the phrase, ask and you shall receive, which sort of comes back and caps the poem on either end. It has a very nice symmetry to it. Even in this stanza, we have say and say. We have if, starting off these lines. So we have a deeply repetitive structure. And of course, maybe the biggest repetition in the poem is coffee. Coffee, 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 coffee. This might be in like half of the lines in the entire poem. Coffee. Maybe not half. Maybe a third. So it's important. Can I share what I think it means? Yeah, you absolutely can, Callie. I like to hear y'all's interpretation. You don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to ask. Any sort of feedback from chat, any sort of ideas, responses at any time are totally fine. I don't know. I see this as like rely on your senses, your observations. And if you find an observation that suits you, drink it. What have you done to me, creatine? Rely on your senses and your observations. And if you find an observation that suits you, drink it. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to write a couple of those things down. What do you mean by if you find an observation that suits you, drink it? Like, what parts of this poem do you find that relating to, Callie? Rely on observations. No, rely on sense. If you find a good one, drink it. Like, I sort of get what you're saying, but it's also, this is like sort of vague. But we do have some very like sensory things, right? Talking about the body. We have the tongues, we have the flesh, we have the puke, we have even like the coming from the heart, that feeling of trust or, sense and feeling. Um, and then the idea, right? If you find something that is good, engage with it. If it stops being good, stop engaging with it, right? Like, we find coffee as good. We find an excuse to drink coffee when we don't have an excuse to drink coffee, because if it's good, right, we just do it. We just drink it. It is clean. It's purifying. We can love it. I think, are baptism and marriage both sacraments? Ishmael? What are the sacraments? The 7 sacraments in the Greek Orthodox Church? They are. Okay. A list of all 7 would be interesting. I would find it quite impressive if you brought all of them in to this poem. I just don't remember what they were. Yeah, but then if coffee becomes too much, if something no longer serves you, if it's no longer pleasing, if it's no longer good, if it maybe impedes upon your sense rather than your sense, wanting it, if it deceives you, then you stop. Then you bring it back in moderation. I think that's maybe a good interpretation, like a philosophy. I see spices as life's flavors or beliefs. I see spices as life's flavors or beliefs, and there's a lot of fortune tellers with their own way of living, but we should all find our own way. Right, so we have this idea of, following the fortune teller, because the fortune teller is a very important character in this poem. And perhaps it's better to find our way to not be deceived, right? Perhaps the fortune teller's way deceives us when we rely on it. Find our way, not be deceived. And, yeah, I think that makes sense. To be wary with what we believe. Marriage, baptism, Eucharist, confirmation, confession, holy orders, deathbed prayer. The issue is I don't necessarily know a lot of the symbology of all of those different things. So it's not super like Eucharist, I know the word, but I definitely don't know like what Eucharist is. Oh, that's the blood and the body. Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, we do have like coffee as something from the heart, something clean, purifying. Feast on his flesh. Okay, so that's very clearly Eucharist, right? To feast on the flesh of Christ. Confirmation. I don't know how that works. We'll come back to that. Maybe you can explain if there's any symbols involved in that one. Confession. I mean, confession naturally involves the sort of speaking of honesty, right? Yet what they puke is honesty. Even the fortune teller is sort of something confessional. What is foreign to Protestants is confirmation. For some reason, you guys stopped putting oil over your head. Okay, so that would be putting oil over one's head, which I don't think is something this poem has. So I don't think we're going through all of the 7 sacraments, unfortunately, right? Because we don't have anything You did not hide all 7 sacraments in there. That'd be so cool, Ishmael, though. Wouldn't that be sick if you did that in this poem? Had all 7 sacraments hidden? That'd be cool. That'd be a fun move. I love hidden stuff in poems and little nuggets of context and puzzles and stuff like that. But not quite. We have reference to like at least 3 of them, 4 of them, which is still pretty cool. But maybe we can approach this through what Kali was saying. The philosophic, finding your own way, the not being deceived, the following of things that are true. And I think that is where we must start with the fortune tellers. The context of this, which not all might know, and I only really know because we talked about it on stream some time ago, is the fortune teller, that some fortune tellers, there is a tradition of fortune telling in which the coffee grounds at the bottom of the cup and like how they are deposited at the end of a cup of coffee are used as a tool of, I guess, divination, right? That's what fortune telling is, divination. So for this, fortune tellers wait to feast on his flesh. They feast on coffee. They take this thing and use it for their end. Yet what they puke is honesty. So I think what's really important to parse in this poem is how coffee relates to honesty, how the fortune teller relates to honesty, and how we as people should relate to honesty. Because this is like really one of the big themes in this poem is honesty. We have deception. We have fortune, this sort of lying generally thing. We think of fortune tellers often as, I think, scamming people in many cases. And then, of course, the first line, coffee does not fear honesty. So it's not that coffee is honesty. It's something outside of that. But coffee doesn't fear it. I just realized if I said it comes from spirit instead of heart, it would be an easy confirmation reference. There you go, Ishmael. That's a fun challenge for you to try rewriting this and putting in all 7 sacraments. Maybe it turns out better, maybe it doesn't. Sometimes those challenges can make writing, I feel like, really shine and get better sometimes, even though they're not like always intuitive. Okay, fortune teller's honesty. Coffee does not fear honesty. His spices wander around many tongues. And I think this gives the feeling that coffee has some amount of universality, where like everyone's drinking coffee. Spices wander around many tongues. Tongues, what we speak from. And in a sense, you know, if one were to personify coffee, which we do personify coffee in this poem, we describe him as he, coffee. We also talk about marrying coffee. Then the coffee in some capacity hears the truths, the lies. If we think about coffee as an entity, it's something that's ever present across, really like the majority of people in at least like Western culture. I don't know the prevalence of drinking coffee in Asia because they drink a lot of tea. Is coffee like African Western? Because coffee comes from Africa, I guess. And then Europe, of course, it's colonization. Europe colonized Africa. Now we have coffee. And America loves coffee. That makes sense. Do they drink coffee a lot in South America and Central America? Y'all drink mate a lot. I know that. It's an interesting question. Like the global distribution of coffee consumption. That's besides the point, though. At least within the context of the poem we're talking about, coffee didn't go to Europe directly from Africa. Well, maybe if you want to share the story of coffee's history, I'd love to know. Because like the Middle East is crazy with coffee. Like Yemen is huge on coffee. They like made coffee, I feel like, or something. I don't really know that well. I'm just saying words. I'll still my tongue now. Coffee, or I'll direct my tongue toward things that it knows. Toward honesty. Coffee does not fear honesty. His spices wander around many tongues. And so I think it's those things together, right? Coffee does not fear honesty. Explanation. His spices wander around many tongues. He hears honesty. He hears lies. He's this sort of like impartial, universal, measured thing in some way. Like we almost describe coffee as like arbiter in some capacity. There's a divinity here, which makes sense, right? When we have coffee as the eighth sacrament, something that is universal, something that concerns honesty and deception and future and past. We're really elevating coffee to the level of divine. Italy is the capital for coffee in Europe, and they did get coffee from Arab and Turkish roots, the Mediterranean culture pit. Okay, so it just kind of like disseminated around. That makes sense. Also, shout out to Italy. That's my country. Yeah, coffee. We do love our coffee, Italians. Good coffee, not bad coffee. But back to the coffee poem. Coffee does not fear to confront them. So, his spices wander on many tongues. Coffee does not fear to confront them. Coffee can confront tongues. Coffee confronts people. And I think this maybe is to say that coffee is strong, bitter. It cuts through. It is a confrontational drink. And I think that maybe ties into the idea. No, does not fear to confront them and does not fear honesty. I mean, it makes sense also. Honesty is very blunt. Often, honesty does not care for sugarcoating, for, being non-confrontational. Honesty is this very, like, pure essence kind of thing, this light shined into deception. And it is very confrontational in that nature. And I wonder if that's a word we can sort of bring into this poem. The idea of sugarcoating something, of being less honest to be less blunt, because we do this with coffee. We mix it with sugar. We mix it with milk. We mix it with all sorts of things. So it becomes less, strong. And even there's like, what kind would you like here? We have strong coffee. We have sugary coffee. If we're drinking coffee with sugar, we could even consider it to be an excuse for something else. Some people don't drink coffee for coffee. They drink it because they want a sweet drink. I think that's awful. I think that's horrible. Disgusting, honestly. Coffee should be not diluted. I'm a black coffee and espresso person. I'll do macchiatos sometimes. I really like them. Like traditional ones. I'm never interested in anything, but now I am. I'm gonna take creatine forever. I think it's like it takes in many views and accepts them, even when it's puke, because it's honest puke. Okay, I think it's like it takes in many views and accepts them, right? Many tongues, and accepts them even when it's puke, because it's honest puke. When what's puke? When coffee is puke? Or when people's views are puke? Yet what they puke. I think it is what the fortune tellers puke. For this fortune tellers wait to feast on his flesh, coffee, which again, we're like deifying coffee. I wonder if this might be too on the nose, but it's certainly an option for this poem. An idea is to give coffee the capital H his treatment, which simultaneously, more strongly evokes, the divine and also raises coffee further to this divine level. We could even we do capital C coffee throughout, no matter, I didn't notice that until now. Yeah. Coffee is always a capital C, which both gives it the feeling of just a name when we personify it as he. But it also gives him like a degree of importance. The capital C coffee. We revere it as proper. I personified him, but I didn't give him the he treatment. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. We still evoke the divine by saying, feast on his flesh. For this, fortune tellers wait to feast on his flesh. And this makes sense. For his lack of fear of confrontation, for his lack of fear of honesty. Because fortune tellers hope to be speaking truth, to be speaking honesty. So they take this thing that is universal, that is honest, that, as you drink it, directly goes to your tongue, to your speaking of honesty or truth organ. So they consume coffee, they consume the universal, they consume the divine, or have someone consume it. Yet what they puke is honesty. So it's like honesty in, honesty out. But I think the sort of surprising thing about this line, right? Yet what they puke is honesty. Like you would hope, or you would think, not hope, you would think that the fortune teller is not honest. You would think they're a liar. You would think they're scamming people by speaking of the future. Yet, what they puke is honesty. Why is what they puke honesty? Because maybe this line, ask and you shall receive. I think that's sort of like the clarifying point. When you're asking for a fortune teller's fortune, you get honesty maybe if you submit to the idea or accept the fortune teller as honest. Um, I think that makes sense. uh, mostly is all different. Honestly, honesty is all the different beliefs, and puke is the translations of coffee. Ah. I think puke is the translations of coffee. What do you mean the translations of coffee? Like, what is that? What does that mean? I like that I can see someone come to understand my intentions in writing in real time. This is an awesome experience for me. I'm glad. This poem is like extraordinarily brilliant, clever. I'm really enjoying it. For this, fortune tellers wait to feast on his flesh, yet what they puke is honesty. Ask and you shall receive. Um, and this is like one of these adages that we have: ask and you shall receive. Uh, the everything with measure, the metron ariston. Um, and I mean, it's like what you ask for, you will get. And if you ask for a fortune, you'll get a fortune. If you believe that the fortune will guide you, then the fortune will guide you. This is the whole idea of, I don't know if I have my tarot deck near me, but of reading tarot, which I don't do. I don't do the tarot cards because I don't really believe in them. But if you believe, if you submit to that idea, if you ask, you'll receive. So fortune teller drinks the coffee and translates it into honesty, which is puke. So you're saying that I see the translations of the coffee. So like the translation of looking at the coffee grounds and turning them into a fortune is puke. And it is honesty. Is your on fortune teller drinks the coffee and translates it into honesty. Yeah, and I think that's what this is saying, right? That they are deriving something from it that is called honesty. I don't necessarily think it is puke, but it's the thing that they puke. They puke it as in they speak it. And I think this really helps us in the poem, the word puke, to evoke the fact that this honesty that they are spreading is like gross. Is this like puke. It's just very kind of vile as a thing. And if you are to accept a gross, disgusting fortune teller honesty, that's what you'll get. Taking in information from coffee and then speaking it is put. Taking in information from coffee and then speaking it put. Why is put there? Speaking it out is the process of divination, but I also use the puke here to imply a level of escapism, as in coffee is too much for them. It's too big to chew on. They feast on coffee's flesh and then they puke it out because they cannot, right, it's above. It is beyond their capacity. The fortune teller, the person who tries to grapple with like the truth that is coffee, the divine coffee, fails. I like that quite a bit. So, find an excuse. Drink coffee. No excuse. Drink coffee. Coffee is cleanliness. It comes from the heart. And then we sort of contrast coffee as cleanliness with coffee as puke. Like the fortune teller is so unclean in their pursuit that they cannot handle like the cleanness of coffee. I also just like that we have like spice and fortune tellers, because that's like Dune, where spice lets you see the future. Uh, I wonder if that's what Frank Herbert got inspiration from, because he bases Dune in a lot of like research into Middle Eastern cultures, and if like coffee is divination, I wonder. That's interesting. Anyway, poem. Find an excuse. Drink coffee. No excuse. Drink coffee. Coffee is cleanliness. It comes from the heart. So, this really just says, let me say, be baptized in coffee, marry coffee, drink coffee. I'm not sure if there's necessarily too much depth to these lines. The only interesting thing is excuses, right? Find an excuse, drink coffee. No excuse, drink coffee. Like, no matter what, no matter how you see it, just drink coffee. Just do the thing. And it sets us up later for the inversion. Born a Pan-Arabist, forced to be an American. I am unsure what you mean. If he tries to take it too far, coffee. If he tries to deceive you, if his salt crawls within your mouth, if you can sense he is only an excuse for something else, say coffee is not always good. Say Metron, Ariston. So, I'm not sure what salt implies. It could just be like the coffee grounds at the bottom if you drink them. Unsure. Like I had Turkish coffee the other day. I have Turkish coffee sometimes. There's a place in Vegas that's Turkish coffee, and for those who don't know, uh uh you have like a bunch of coffee grounds at the bottom of Turkish coffee when you drink it, and you don't drink the coffee grounds. uh but I'm not sure if that's the case here. Salt plays back into the marriage theme. Yeah, salt does do like the marriage, spiritual, also like the esoteric fortune teller salt circles and that kind of thing. I don't know what salt really symbolizes in each of those cases. I mean, salt is usually like clean and purity. Right? These are things salt symbolizes. Salt symbolizes the body in alchemy. Salt is like preservation, protection. Which I think, yeah, I know salt has something to do with marriages. I don't really know how it works. If you can sense he's only an excuse for something else, if his salt crawls within your mouth. Also, simply that salt and coffee taste bad. I guess that's true. If the coffee tastes bad. Um, and I think maybe that ties in with the excuse for something else of like bad coffee being an excuse for something else or having salt for whatever reason. If he tries to take it too far, if he tries to deceive you, if his salt crawls within your mouth, if you can sense he's only an excuse for something else. So if he's only an excuse for something else, we're not drinking coffee for coffee's sake. We're like we should just be drinking the coffee and enjoying the thing. I feel like this ties into the conversation we were having about coffee and divination some time ago on stream. If he's an excuse for something else, right? If the coffee is an excuse for divination, if the coffee is an excuse for sugar or sweet things, if the coffee is not being drunk for coffee's sake, then we've failed, right? We say coffee is not always good. Coffee is good if we drink coffee for coffee, which I think brings us to the very present, like Callie was saying, like observational, experiential level of coffee, where coffee is something we drink and it should just be, we should just enjoy the experience of the thing on its own. I guess I have to give feedback. Salt in coffee is used in hand in marriage ceremonies where the pre-engagement step is taken in a small, not small festivity, which includes the groom drinking coffee with salt in it. Ah, so then to drink coffee with salt is to marry something else, right? We are not marrying coffee in that case. We are committing to the future. Marriage, right? It's like this commitment. It's this future. It's this fortune telling in a sense. Which takes us away from the present moment of experience and into something else. I think this poem is about living in the present. To just drink coffee and not try to see the future in it. I think is what we're going for, right? But if you're not, if you're trying to find something more, something else, if you're trying to like ascribe higher belief to things, which makes sense then if we're not like capital H he-ing coffee, we're putting it like somewhere higher but not divine. Because it's not to be worshipped in the same way. It's just to be, we just drink it. Marry ourselves, baptize ourselves in present experience. In that like simple nowness. Say coffee is not always good. Say metron ariston. Say measure is the best. Right, and if you're then ascribing, if you're thinking about the future and you're using things for other things and you're like complicating this, then it's probably best to have measure, to reduce, to stop. What kind would you like? Ask and you shall receive. And then this like brings us back to the idea of asking the fortune teller, ask and you shall receive. And we either ask for the future or we ask for coffee with salt. We ask for bad coffee. We ask for something to be used to be puked out into something else. Or we ask for the clean thing, the thing from the heart, the thing without excuses, without like justification, just coffee. And then it becomes like a real philosophical statement. To live without excuse, to experience as like pure and immediate action. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the feeling. That's the vibe that I'm getting. Coffee does not fear honesty. Coffee does not fear to confront them. And it's funny, like we present coffee as something more, but then also something that cannot be more than what it is, because when it becomes more than what it is, when it becomes an excuse for something else, it no longer functions. It's like the coffee is like the Tao in this poem, to defer to that spiritual system. But like the coffee is the Tao, or the coffee is the present, or the coffee is, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. but that's really like what this poem makes me think. To just drink the coffee and to enjoy it. To not make more of life than what it is. And I think that makes certain choices in this poem very effective. Coffee, 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 coffee. We don't describe coffee through metaphor. We say what coffee does. We say where he is, what he does, how he is used, how he is consumed. We say how to approach coffee. Coffee, coffee, coffee. The only time that we describe coffee as anything other than itself is coffee is cleanliness, right? And otherwise, we're simply reiterating coffee as something that's sort of just like functional in itself. We're not describing coffee with any superfluous terms. We're not really like adding very much, adjectives or metaphor onto coffee. We're really like effectively using it as like a symbol, with the exception of the one, with the one metaphor in the middle of coffee is cleanliness, which maybe then makes sense if it's something we're trying to keep clear, to keep pure, to not dirty with the future, to not dirty with salt, to not dirty with excuses. right? Coffee is just to be coffee, and coffee is clean and pure on its own, like life. And coffee is like energy. It's also that thing that like gives stimulation, um, or like heightens one's stimulation, and one's engagement with the present. It like locks you in. I think I've sort of said it's hard to say what I'm trying to say. But that's like most of my interpretation of the meaning of the poem is kind of that. Uh the repetition works well. The sort of full circle ask and you shall receive. The symmetry of this poem. Yeah, I like it. I don't know if I have much more to say than that. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts or questions. I don't necessarily feel like I really find an excuse to drink coffee. Are you pointing me toward that line, Ishmael? I mean, it's the inversion of coffee as an excuse for anything else, right? Rather than using coffee as an excuse, everything should be redirected back to coffee. Everything should be an excuse for the present moment. Everything should be an excuse for pure experience. Everything should be an excuse for that sort of centrality, is how I interpret that line. Or you're just saying that to tell me to find an excuse to drink coffee and to go drink coffee, which, fair enough. It's sort of awkward though, like when we say coffee as present experience, when we say coffee as whatever, it like fails the poem because the poem is just coffee. And as soon as you make the coffee anything other than itself, which we try to do, like as the analyst, you want to say coffee is this thing, coffee is this thing. And I think the poem invites you to just think about coffee as coffee, um, and to just drink coffee. um, and that the action doesn't have to be more than it is. And that, that sentiment is sort of the approach, the answer. Uh, like I'm really inclined to say that this poem is an incredible expression of the Tao. Like, I really do think that is very good. But it's coffee. It's just coffee. Do you have any questions, Ishmael? You might be the only one in chat at this point. I really don't know. I don't like see the number of viewers that I have, but it's been pretty quiet. You really liked it, my analysis. Thank you. I really liked this poem. Maybe Kali's still here. I don't know. Maybe Kali got inspired and went and wrote. I have no idea. People come in and out, and that's okay. Um, Not necessarily much reason to be calling out to people. um, yeah, I think that's the poem. I think that's the vibe. I mean, that's my like interpretation of, I guess, mostly meaning. But I think we talked a lot about the word choices in there and the repetition and that sort of full circle feeling. I like that these ask and you shall receives like point to each other, and a lot of like the motion and reference in this poem is happening between uh like the top section and the bottom section, and then the middle is very self-contained in that it's just like coffee, 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 coffee. And it almost makes it feel like this poem is like all of these other things circling and like revolving around, right? Trying to be more than, trying to go outside of the excuses. These are the excuses for which we drink coffee. Um, or the things that coffee becomes an excuse for. Whereas the center, the core of this poem is like coffee at its purest. And as soon as we go back outside of this and broaden the scope, it's tainted. So we zoom back in, we find measure, and then we end up like looking back outside of coffee. That's like the motion of this poem. It really feels like zooming in and out, I guess, and like circling. It's the vibe. I'm gonna read it one more time, I guess, and then we'll call it there. Coffee. Coffee does not fear honesty. His spices wander around many tongues. Coffee does not fear to confront them. For this, fortune tellers wait to feast on his flesh, yet what they puke is honesty. Ask, and you shall receive. Find an excuse. Drink coffee. No excuse, drink coffee. Coffee is cleanliness. It comes from heart. Be baptized in coffee. Marry coffee. Drink coffee. But if he tries to take it too far, if he tries to deceive you, if his salt crawls within your mouth, if you can sense he is only an excuse for something else, say, coffee is not always good. Say, metron erison. What kind would you like? Ask, and you shall receive. Coffee by Ishmael. That's a good poem. I really like it, Ishmael. I think that's just like really, really excellent writing. Like it's tight. Everything, most everything feels like it kind of fits into that conception. Uh you imply the Greek, you imply the divinity. I would love to see all 7 sacraments in the poem. I think that would be so cool. It would be really difficult to pull off without kind of further muddying the poem, but I think it'd be sick to get all of those in there, because then you're making specific reference to that phrase, and that's just kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm honored to read it. Thank you so much for sending it. It was a pleasure to read it. Yeah. Coffee. So, I don't know if there's like anyone else in chat at all. Like I said that already, which Might mean there's just not another poem to read, potentially. But there's an ad break coming up on Twitch. So I'm going to run the ad and I'll come back. And then, maybe if anyone shows up in that time, they might be someone we can read poetry from. If not, uh, then we'll hang out maybe, but I think it's maybe I'll just end a stream at that point if there's no one. I'm not sure. But uh, for now, take a mental break and we'll come back in 3 minutes and see what's happening because I need the mental break too. Yeah, stand up, drink water, go to the bathroom, get a beer, whatever. Welcome back. I realized I had I had YouTube like open like from the stream side where I should be able to see my own chat and uh whoa. Okay. Now I have the stream open. I can hear myself. Um I it was like I had chat open on the YouTube thing where chat was supposed to be popping up and chat just wasn't popping up. And I had someone come into the YouTube chat at some point and ask me a question and I didn't see it because you know, I guess I didn't see it, which really sucks because it wasn't working. So Ronnie asked in the YouTube chat what kind of tablet I'm using. You're probably long gone, because I just didn't answer your question. I have no idea how long ago that was. Um, but it's an iPad. It's like an iPad Pro from 6 years ago or something. 4 years ago, maybe. 4 years ago, I think. Um, but yeah, we're back. Welcome back. I'm still Imogen. We're still streaming. Uh, and I don't really think there's anyone in chat who has poetry submitted in the Discord. I don't really think I have anything particular to read. Hi, Ishmael. So I don't know what to do. I'm kind of maybe I'll just end stream. I know I just like did the little break, and that's sort of silly if I was gonna end stream. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have anything to talk about. Uh, and I did a lot of writing yesterday, so maybe I'm just tired and poetry out, so to speak. But uh, yeah, I'm glad that multi-streaming works. Definitely had some hang-ups and things that didn't work between the two chats and the shared chat not loading. And these are all things that I will have to figure out um, off of stream, probably. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all. It was nice to converse with you. It was really nice to read your poem, Ishmael. I'm glad you sent it. I enjoyed reading it. I think it was really well written. Got something good going on there. And I guess I'll figure out how to get this chat to have both my Twitch chat and my YouTube chat going so that everyone can see both on screen, because I think that's cool. That will also help me not miss things. And yeah. The VOD, Ishmael, I'm posting VODs on YouTube now. Uh so are you fine with the poem, the VOD going on my YouTube for, you know, people to see on the internet, for you to rewatch, for other people to stumble across? Is that cool? Uh, that's something I'm doing now. Because I used to do that. Post all of the VODs on YouTube. You're fine with that? Cool. I mean, it's already streamed on YouTube, which means I think the whole VOD gets saved automatically to YouTube no matter what. So I don't really think I need to ask people because, like, it goes on YouTube anyway. Uh, but I figured I'd ask. I don't know. Just letting you know that's happening now. Okay, that's all for stream. Thank you for everyone who watched. Thank you to everyone who lurked. Thank you for anyone who came by on YouTube, because that's a new experience, and I'm glad that works. So yeah, I really don't have that much more to say, um, other than to keep writing poetry. You love other people on YouTube. I feel like I saw that I had like one viewer when I opened it a second ago. Maybe there were people with it on in the background or something, but no. There was one person who came in and sent a message in the chat, and I didn't see it because my YouTube chat wasn't working on my YouTube studio. So now I have the YouTube stream just open so I can see the live chat like anyone else would see the live chat. And so for next time, I'll be able to actually read YouTube chat for the duration of stream. But that's why we test things out, because you know, that happens, and that's okay. So yeah, that's all for stream. Thank you for watching, and yeah, keep making art you love. That's what's important. I've been Imogen. Next stream is on Monday, February 2nd, and I'll see you then. Bye.